Mrs. Wilson never expected that after a hard day's work, she would not even be willing to hit a car when she came back, and finally reached the door of her house. She was slapped in the face by an unknown woman. The woman smoked her and scolded her, eyes cracking. "Bad old lady, you ate damn pig food, and came to Thompson to pretend to be a good one. Really have a problem with your brain." After finishing speaking, she immediately shouted to the security guard not far away, "Hey, come here, are you fucking blind? I spent more than 20 million to buy a house in your place. Do you serve distinguished owners like this? The bad old women who are inferior to pigs and dogs like this come in, who will protect the mood and interests of the owner." The security is also very nervous. Mrs. Wilson looked somewhat haggard, with a tired face. She didn't look like an old lady from a wealthy family. Moreover, she was carrying 4 large plastic bags in her hand, which were filled with steamed buns and rice, as well as the horrible vegetable soup, which was even more inconsistent with the characteristics of the owners of Thompson. So, he hurriedly said to the old lady, "I'm sorry, old lady, we are a private residence here, and we can't get away with other people. Please leave as soon as possible." Mrs. Wilson trembled angrily. Even if she is not the owner of Thompson, at least she is also a tenant of Thompson. And it is the tenant of Thompson's top villa. Why should she be beaten and driven out? The angrily Mrs. Wilson immediately took out the card, shaking her hand a few times, and said angrily, "Keep your dog eyes open and show me clearly. This is the access control card for the gate of Thompson first grade." The security guard and the female owner were immediately stunned. The access control card of Thompson is very elegant, and there is a unique logo on the card. One of them is the owner and the other works here, so they are familiar with this card. When they saw this card, they both had a question in their hearts. Is this bad old lady really the owner of a Thompson villa? The middle-aged woman opened the mouth and said, "Just take out a card, who knows if it is true or not, so dare you to try it." Mrs. Wilson said angrily, "Okay. You wait, I'll show it to you." After that, she immediately swiped the induction area stuck on the gate. The turnstile immediately sounded a prompt, "Hello, honorable resident of Villa A04, welcome to you home." In Thompson, residents are divided into 2 categories. The first category is the owner, that is, the property owner clearly recorded on the property certificate of the property. The other category is households. However, residents should not be underestimated. After all, most of the households are the immediate family members of the owners, and the less frequent ones are also due to relatives. For example, Warnya, as the current head of the Song family, is well known in Orr's Hill. If she buys a villa here, she is the owner, and her grandfather, other elders, and siblings are the residents. Although the occupants are not the owners, because they are very close to the owners, it is not something ordinary people can afford. When the middle-aged woman saw that Mrs. Wilson had successfully swiped her card, and she was really a resident of Villa A04, she paled with fright. Although she has a wealth of tens of millions, she is only a middle class in Orr's Hill. A series of villas, each set at a price of 100 million to tens of millions, is simply impossible for her to afford. Therefore, she is also very clear in her heart that anyone who can live in a series of villas must have much more energy than herself. Thinking that she had just slapped the old lady, the woman was already scared to pee. At this moment, she thought anxiously in her heart, it's over, it's over. This is really a disaster. Who would have thought that this old lady really has a few brushes? I slapped her just now, in case she wants I can't get through with her. Am I in big trouble now? The security guard was trembling in shock. What's the matter? This old lady is really a resident of Thompson's first-class villa? Why don't I have any impression of her? Furthermore, everyone who can live in the villa area is either rich or expensive. Since this old lady is so rich, so capable, and with a formidable background, why should she carry a few bags of leftovers and come on foot? What about Thompson first product reputation? Could it be that the rich people nowadays have become popular for eating swill? Mrs. Wilson asked the woman angrily at this time. Keep your dog's eyes wide open to see clearly? Now you say, am I a resident of A04? That woman was completely shocked. Just when she was shivering, not knowing what to do, Jacob happened to be out for a walk. Although he saw the back of Mrs. Wilson, he smelled a smell of leftovers before he could see clearly. He pinched his nose, planning to go around a little bit. As soon as he walked to the gate, he swiped his card, and the intelligent voice prompt, "Hello, honorable resident of Villa A05, welcome to your home." The gate opened at the sound. As soon as she heard that it was A05, Mrs. Wilson looked at it and recognized him at a glance, and hurriedly shouted, "Jacob." Jacob. Jacob turned his head and realized that it was his own mother. He said in embarrassment, "Mom, what are you doing here?" Jacob's mother almost made the woman pee her pants in fright. She was flustered in her heart. Dead, dead, so dead today. What is the origin of this old lady? She lives in Villa A04, and her son lives in Villa A05. This looks like a top family. I actually beat an old lady from a top big family. Will their family find a way to kill me? At this time, Mrs. Wilson pointed at the woman in front of her, and said angrily to Jacob, "Jacob. This girl beat me. You quickly help me teach her a lesson." Jacob felt a little embarrassed. So he whispered to himself, "First of all, my mother makes trouble all day long. I don't know if others beat her. Even if she beat her, she might be the first to cause trouble. Secondly, she treats me so badly. I won't help her out. The people who live in Thompson's first-class residence are either rich or powerful. If I really provoke someone with a reputation, wouldn't I make trouble?" Thinking of this, he said to Mrs. Wilson, "Mom, you should call the police for this kind of thing. Besides, you can't take any scissors for New Year's Eve. How can you fight with others, don't you know?" Mrs. Wilson covered her chest angrily, and was about to give him a moral kidnapping. Jacob had already spoken. "Well, Mom, you call the police first. If the police can't solve it, you call me again, just say that, okay?" After finishing speaking, without waiting for the old lady's response, he said, Mom, there is something at home, I'll go now. The voice is down, and he just left. He didn't want to be entangled by the old lady, let alone have anything to do with the old lady. After all, tomorrow is New Year's Eve. At this time, what he wants most is to spend the new year with his family steadily. Nothing else matters.